Hello, how's everyone doing today? Welcome to the channel. If you're new, if you're a returning viewer, I'm glad to have you back, and welcome to another episode of Justin Talks Games. There are two things that I'd like to talk about today. The first one being something that apparently Capcom said to GOG. I don't personally believe it. And the second thing is going to be the longer half of the video. It's going to be about Code Veronica and its apparent remake that, everybody on social media is posting about it. Well, I shouldn't say everybody, but there's been a lot of AI fake art of Claire and Chris, a lot of fake Code Veronica art, and a lot of people saying, oh, it's been confirmed, it's coming out in like 2020, whatever, 26, between 26 and 28. It's in development. Code Veronica is coming. And there's been a lot of pictures, a lot of people saying such things, and I've even seen some things on Reddit as well. It's getting a little ridiculous. But before we get into that, let's go back. Let's dial ourselves back to the GOG things. But before we do that, don't forget to grab your drinks, grab your snacks, and let's get into this. So, GOG. If you guys don't know what GOG is, it's an online platform where you can buy digital games. So essentially, it's like Steam, but not as big as Steam. And I say that because even console gamers know what Steam is, even if you don't play PC games. Oh, excuse me. If you hear me from coughing, rub my eyes, or doing anything like that, I'm trying to get over a cold. I rarely get sick. Usually when the seasons change, it's starting to get a bit colder here where I'm living. Once it starts to get colder, I get the sickness. Just like when summertime's coming around, same thing. Kind of sucks. But anyways, so let's get into GOG. So apparently, the guys who run GOG, they had a hell of a time getting Resident Evil 1, 2, and 3, the originals 1, 2, and 3, on their platform. Apparently they had to fight and argue and push Capcom to get Resident Evil 1, 2, and 3 on their platform. So apparently Capcom turned around and told them, well, why do you want these on? This isn't exactly word for word. You can look up what the exact wording is. But I'm just going to say it how they meant it. I don't remember exact words. But basically, it's why do you want original 1, 2, and 3 on your platform when the remakes are readily available? They are much better, smoother, and just an overall better game experience. And essentially, why would nobody wants to play the originals anymore? Again, that's not what they said word for word. You'll have to look up the I don't even want to say interview. I don't even know what it is. Basically, it's just something that popped up like 2 days ago, and apparently that these guys said. To be honest, I don't believe that. I really don't, because for one, Resident Evil 1, original Resident Evil 1, has been on GOG for a very long time. It's been on GOG for a very long time. 2 and 3 came on the platform. It was either last year or very early this year. I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, please correct me. But I think it was last year that 2 and 3 were put on the platform. If I'm correct, this statement is made a year later. Why? Why would you say that? It's irrelevant to even say anything like that. Like, to be totally honest, I think what it is I think Capcom just didn't want their Resident Evil games on that platform. Maybe they didn't want Resident Evil 1, 2, and 3 on GOG. And that's totally fine. That is their right. They are the creators of Resident Evil. They own the rights to that franchise. It's theirs. If they don't want it on GOG, again, I'm just guessing here, but just the way how Capcom acts, I can honestly say that them saying, oh, the remakes are better or nobody cares about the originals anymore is bullshit. I call bullshit on that. All over the world. I don't care. But yeah, maybe they just didn't want those games on the platform. And that's why they were giving them a hard time. And then they finally said, you know what, fine, screw it. Just have them then. Maybe they got tired of them bothering because the guys from GOG, they claim we had to push them. We had a hard time with them. Okay. If they wanted them on their platform, if Capcom was like, hey, maybe we should put Resident Evil on GOG, they wouldn't have a problem. They'd be like, yeah, okay, let's work out a deal. But obviously, from my thinking perspective, I mean, maybe I'm crazy, I don't know. But maybe they didn't want them originally on that platform. That's why they kept pushing back and back and back. And then who knows if they actually said what, those guys said, to be totally honest. Because it doesn't make sense. Because you got to think. Okay, they don't want them anymore. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. So why was Resident Evil 1, 1996, Director's Cut, put on PlayStation 5 a while ago when the remake of Resident Evil 1 came out in 2002, right? Also, the remastered version of the remake came out in 2015. And that's on Steam, okay? And it's on the PS5, it's on all consoles. Okay, so if that's the case, and if that's their thinking, why is Resident Evil 1 Director's Cut on there? Why is it on PlayStation? I don't know if it's on Xbox, but why would they put Director's Cut on Resident Evil 1? Or put on PS5? Makes no sense, if you think about it. Also, Resident Evil 2 and 3, they came out not too long ago, and they're on PS5. Right? And you can buy them. I think they're like $20 each or something. I can't remember. If that was the case, and that was not too long ago, a couple of months ago. That wasn't even that long ago. That those games were put on. If this was Capcom thinking, oh, the remakes are a better experience, blah, 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 why would they put Resident Evil 1, 2, and 3 on the platform? And on top of that, yes, Code Veronica doesn't have a remake, but if these remakes are the best experience ever, why would they keep original Resident Evil 4 on there? And, again, I know it doesn't have I should have said it shouldn't have a remake first because I was meaning Code Veronica. Let's, go back a bit. Pretend we're rewinding. So, I know it doesn't have a remake, but why keep Code Veronica on there, right? It's one of the games with it's the last game of the classic style. Resident Evil 4 original is on there. Okay, the remake of Resident Evil 4 is on there. Why not take that off now? See, it's stupid. It's absolutely stupid. I highly doubt Capcom said that. Because again, like I said, they wouldn't have Resident Evil 1 original on there. They wouldn't have put 2 and 3 originals on there recently. As well, why have Resident Evil 4 original on there too? If that's the case, just take them all off. This is so stupid. It absolutely makes no sense. And anytime Capcom talks about the Resident Evil games, they bring up the original games. They bring up the original times. Like, this series started back in 1996 with Resident Evil 1. And they talk about Resident Evil 1. They talk about Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3. They don't ignore the original games. They don't think that nobody cares about them. I personally think that GOG, they needed some sort of... They needed their 15 minutes of fame. Let's be honest. Because you always hear Steam sale, you always hear Steam this, Steam that. When do you ever hear GOG sale? GOG this, GOG... You don't hear anything about them. I personally think they may have needed their 15 minutes of fame, so they're making up some bullshit about Capcom. That's just my opinion. Because I follow a lot of Resident Evil stuff. I watch all the streams. Not so much all of the interviews online, like I read them, but like a lot of the announcement streams, all of the game events and stuff. I may not stream them on my channel, But, I watch them. I keep up to date. If I miss something, I go back and watch it. I'm always on the ball for everything. I've been playing and watching Resident Evil things since 1996. Not once has Capcom uh, talked disrespectful or bad about the previous games in their own franchise. Not once. The Capcom is proud of the games that they've made. They are very proud that their franchise has lasted 30 years. The 30th anniversary is coming up next year. No, they are very excited about this. They're not pretending nothing exists. They're happy about this legacy that they've built. You can see every time they talk, even the director of Resident Evil 9, he's happy and everything, and he's proud of the product. Because the guy who made Resident Evil, the guy who's making Resident Evil 9, he made Resident Evil 7, and even before that, he made Resident Evil Revelations. This guy's been in the franchise since 2012. He may have made other games. I think he worked on Mercenaries 3D as well. I think I could be wrong. But he's been here for a while. He's not a brand new guy. But anyway, I'm kind of going off topic and a little bit of a rant here. I do apologize. But yeah, I don't think Capcom feels that way at all. Personally, I think, like I said, I know I'm repeating myself, but I feel like these GOG guys, they needed their 15 minutes of fame. They're going to say, Capcom gave us a hard time about putting Resident Evil 1, 2, and 3, the original games, on here, blah, blah, blah. When in reality, if you keep up with Capcom, you keep up with all the Resident Evil showcases, events, blah, 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 blah. They've never said anything or acted anything like that. Yeah, they're going to promote the remakes more because those are the most recent things. But they also don't forget and don't push away the things that have come before. It's just not like them. I'd be very surprised if this is true. I'd genuinely be shocked. Because this is not how Capcom operates and how they talk about things. Excuse me. So I just wanted to get that out of the way. I'd love to know your thoughts and opinions on that whole situation. Because to me, it just sounds ridiculous. And just the way they present themselves, especially with Resident Evil as a whole, the franchise, doesn't make sense. It just feels like a bunch of bullshit, and GOG's trying to get your 15 minutes of fame. Excuse me. So now that we're about almost 13 minutes into this, let's move on to the thing that I really wanted to talk about. I mean, I wanted to talk about GOG. Oh, man, excuse me. I wanted to talk about GOG, but I really wanted to talk about this Code Veronica thing really badly. I meant to make a video yesterday, but I didn't get a chance to. Oh my gosh. See, I told you. I do apologize. Lots of coughing going on now. It's because I'm talking a lot. So, there's been a lot of AI art of Code Veronica on Facebook, social medias, saying that it's been confirmed, it's in the works, it's this and that, blah, blah, blah. It's coming out in like 2027, 2028, blah, whatever number they throw on it. There's been no confirmation. Nobody knows what remakes Capcom is working on. That's just how it is. Literally nobody knows. After Resident Evil 4 was done, being made and released and stuff, they put out a poll and they basically said, would you like more remakes? And people put yes, essentially. And then Capcom themselves have also said, hey, yeah, we're actually more interested. We'd like to do more remakes. We're interested in and open to that idea. So, something that they're interested to. But they never hinted toward which ones they wanted to do or which ones they are going to do. They never hinted that. So we don't know if Code Veronica is being remade or if Zero is being remade. Actually, I should make a Zero video on this apparent Resident Evil Zero remake too, and give my thoughts about that too. I think I'll do that too. The biggest thing about Veronica is, and a lot of people think, or don't think, I should say, is it's not going to be the same Code Veronica that we know and we love. And it's a very unique Resident Evil game. The story, the characters, quirkiness, everything. Code Veronica is a special gem among the first 4 games. And it's the same, but it's also very different. I would probably say it's probably the most unique Resident Evil game out of the 4 original games. Um, because of the story, like I said, the story, the characters, and all that kind of stuff. One of my favorite Resident Evil games. I know a lot of people say it, it's not very good. A lot of people say it's one of the hardest in the series, which I disagree with. But that's not why I'm talking about Veronica today. I'd like to talk about some things like that would have to be changed. Well, not they would have to be changed, but things that would be changed, just because of how society operates today. And this isn't going to turn into a whole like, oh, certain groups are bad, blah blah blah. I'm not like that on this channel. People like what they like. People don't like what they don't like. And people feel and get offended by things that they feel and get offended by. Do I have things that I like and dislike and disagree with? Yes. But, and I'm saying all this now because the content in Code Veronica is some stuff that could open up a whole entire box of just trouble in these times. I hate to say it. But yeah. So if you do get offended by, things easily, perhaps just stick with the GOG things. And that's about it for this video. And I don't mean that in a hurtful or disrespectful way. If you know you're a very sensitive person, and that's okay. Everybody's different. Everybody is totally different. But if you know yourself that you're sensitive to certain issues, maybe just stick to the GOG portion of this video. Okay, so let's move on. So, Code Veronica has a very unique set of characters and family. Code Veronica is kind of revolved around a family named the Ashford family. They are one of the founding families who helped create the Umbrella Corporation. They're very important to Umbrella's history. There are 2 twins, Alfred and Alexia. They were very, very, very close to each other growing up. Excuse me. The brother, Alfred, is, by all intents and purposes, he is obsessed with his sister to an unhealthy degree. He basically worships her. I think there's even a note. Yeah, there is a note that you can find that he builds a bridge from the training facility to their residence. Oh, man. Excuse me. I'm sorry for all the coughing. I don't like doing that in videos. I'm very sorry. As I was saying, he gets slave workers to build a bridge from the training facility to their residence. A secret bridge underneath the training facility. Well, not so much underneath. It's like out to the side somewhere. But basically out of the eyes of the peasants and the common folk, essentially. Because he felt that Alexia's beauty and just her presence, the common folk and the slaves and the workers, they were not worthy of her beauty, worthy to be in her presence. He basically worshipped her as a goddess, essentially. She was literally his world. And so after he got the workers to make the bridge, obviously, he would kill them, which he did. He killed all the workers off. And after doing so, I can't remember what year. It would have been 15 years before Resident Evil Code Veronica took place. So, and I'm not very good at math right now because, again, kind of sick in my brain's all blah, 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 blah. So 15 years prior to 1998, whatever that is when Alexia did some, okay, I'm jumping all over the place here. Alexia did some tests with the T. Veronica virus. And there's a reason why I'm getting into the story parts. You'll see why. She did some tests with the T. Veronica virus on her father. Didn't work. So she decided, look, it didn't work on him. So I'm going to put the T. Veronica virus into myself. And then I'm going to cryogenically freeze myself for 15 years so that my body can absorb the virus and I can literally become one with the Veronica virus. So she does that. During that 15-year time, you got to remember, Alfred doesn't talk. He doesn't talk to anybody. He doesn't. Well, he gives commands and stuff to his commanders because it's military, right? Um, but he doesn't have anybody that he genuinely spends time with. That was only Alexia. So over time, his obsession and just overall whatever for Alexia, his mind basically snaps and he becomes Alexia. He gets a wig, puts a wig on, he gets a dress, he completely dresses up like her, changes his voice and all of that. So he essentially becomes a woman. He becomes Alexia. And I can see how that can be offensive in 2025. Well, by the time Resident Evil 9 comes, it'll be 2026, and then if they make Veronica whenever 2028, 9, 30, who knows, right? I could see how that could be an issue with, and I don't mean this in like a political bad way, blah blah blah, but especially with like trans people, with how they're being treated and how difficult it is for them, right? I could see that storyline being a little bit troubling. Also because he talks to himself too. There comes a time when you're playing as Claire, when you first get to the guardhouse, when you go up the stairs to the second floor and you go through, Claire hears Alexia talking, and it sounded like she's talking to Alfred. Eventually, you learn that Alfred has multiple personality disorder, and that he's not just pretending to be Alfred, but in his brain, he's both himself and Alexia. So he's talking to himself and answering himself, right? Again, Veronica was a very interesting game. Even for the time that it came out, it was a very interesting game. And just the way how, I guess, not, like I said, I'm not a very political person because I don't know how to talk about it. I don't follow that stuff. I don't know the correct terms. I don't know anything like that. So if I am offending by saying the wrong words, I do very much apologize because, again, I don't follow that stuff. I don't get involved in any of that stuff. So, this game is a very touchy subject, like I said. So as I said, like, he has this mental health issue, multiple personalities, as well as kind of like temporarily transitioning himself as Alexia from time to time. I can see how that could be not hurtful, but confusing to some people. And like, I don't know. I could see them, if they were to remake Code Veronica, that I could see them reworking that whole storyline, whereas Alfred would just be himself. He wouldn't be both. He may have a disorder, but I don't think he'd be dressing up as Alexia. I don't think it would be as out there as it is in the original. Claire's line to Alfred is definitely not going to be in it if they remake it. She calls him a cross-dressing freak. Whereas at the time, I thought it was hilarious. Even right now, I think it's kind of funny, but not in a disrespectful way. Like, it's just funny the way she says it. Alfred, you cross-dressing freak. Like, it's just funny just the way that she says it. Um, but yeah, Code Veronica is one of those games where everybody's like, yeah, remake it. It's such an amazing, beautiful, wonderful Resident Evil game. It's one of the best ones, which they're not wrong. Code Veronica is definitely one of the most unique Resident Evil games you can play. But just with how society functions now, there would have to be a lot of changes to the overall family dynamic of Alfred and Alexia and all that, so that it would be more acceptable to the modern audience. And I don't mean the whole, modern audience. I mean like modern as in like this time right now. The younger generation, the people who are playing games right now. Not the political collect bullshit that, people use that term for. I'm saying it right now. Modern gamers right now. Because, modern is PS5, it's Switch 2, it's the new Xbox, it's PC, right? It's not retro, it's not, PS3 X or original Xbox, Nintendo 64, nothing like that. I'm saying modern as in current gaming generation right now. And for those who are playing these modern games and consoles and stuff, they were brought up in this different time than when these games came out. So seeing these new things and what they're learning in school and all these different things, it would kind of clash a little bit. It might clash a little bit. You don't know, right? And it may not be very good. Again, I'm against changes. I think that they should keep it because of just how unique and different Code Veronica is. And it's one of my favorite Resident Evil games. But I think that if they were to remake Code Veronica, there would definitely be some changes to be had if they did it. They would also probably change some of the other things. Excuse me again. They would also probably change some other things too, like the layout. There's a lot of backtracking in Code Veronica, just like Resident Evil 1, 1996, way back in the day. They will probably have it where you do one area, and then go finish this area up, and then go to the next area, do next area, stuff like that. Because, for those of you who haven't played Code Veronica, there are, let's see here, 1, 2, 3. There's at least 3 sections in the first, 25% of the game. Code Veronica, in a sense, it's a big game, but a short game. If that makes sense. It's a big game because you get something from here, right? And you do something here, and then you get the item from here, and you have the option to go back here to get something different. That will help you here, and there, and everywhere if you want. The example I'm using here actually is the lighter. You're in jail. You come out of the jail in the beginning, and there's a guy who's bleeding out. Right, he's not doing very good. So you play the game so far, a couple hours and whatever, and then later on, you have to come back to the starting area. When you come back to the starting area, you do some things and then you go back. And then when you go there, when you go back to the training area, there is a medicine bottle that you can get. And you can take the medicine bottle, go all the way back to the beginning of the prison to give it to the guard master guy. And he'll give you a lockpick, and you leave the lighter there, and then you take the lockpick, and you'll have access to other things. So basically, you have to go out of your way to get the extra stuff. Apparently, a lot of people don't like that. They don't like that they have to work for things. I know one of the biggest complaints for Code Veronica is the Magnum. A lot of people complain about that. Oh, if you don't take the fire extinguisher with Chris, you can't put that fire out and you can't get the Magnum. They need to change that if they make Code Veronica. They make it so you can get anything and everything available to you. What? Why not? At that point, just play Resident Evil 0 on easy mode and have thousands and thousands of ammo. I know it's a different game, but you get what I'm saying. Just a lot of people want a lot of things changed. But yeah, like I said, I think the layout would be changed quite a bit, because I remember there's one part where you can go down and there's a submarine you go into, and it takes you to different levels, lower level, higher level. Now, you'll be using that submarine at least 2 or 3 times, right? And again, you'll be going literally all over the place. Like you're Code Veronica, the way how that game works, put it this way, pretend you're scatterbrained and you're just blah, 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 all over the place. That's Code Veronica. That's exactly what Code Veronica is. You're over here 1 minute, then you're over here, then you're down here, then you're back up here again, then you're over here, and then, oh, now you're down here again, and then you're in the middle, and then while you're in the middle, you have to be in, like, it's quote, like I said, it's a very unique and a very, very different game, with lots of different secrets and interesting things to it. But I think, like I said, I think if they were to remake it, they would definitely chop it down quite a bit, make it so much more streamlined. They would definitely have to change the family dynamic, and it would not be the same. It would not be the Code Veronica that we know. It would be a Resident Evil 3 remake. And I hate to say that, but that's how it would be. Even if they keep the core storyline, Alexia wants to unleash the T. Veronica virus, blah, 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 and that's it. Actually, that's the funny thing. The whole story for Code Veronica is basically stopping Wesker from getting the T. Veronica virus, if you really think about it. Now that I'm really, really thinking about it, Alexia didn't really have an ulterior motive to take over the world or anything like that. Eventually it came down to you trying to stop Wesker in a roundabout way from getting the T. Veronica virus. That's hilarious. Almost 20 years later, and I'm just really thinking about this now. Wow. Anyways, so yeah, we're about 32 minutes into this. I didn't think this video was going to be that long. But yeah, let me know what your thoughts on this, with the whole GOG situation is. Let me know your thoughts about Code Veronica and its potential remake, and how it could turn out if they did such a thing. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that fun kind of stuff. And I will see you guys in my next video. Until then, have a very good day.